Adriana? No? All right. Wonderful. Okay, if you look at the directions there for the first set, determine whether negative 2, 3 is a solution to the system. I want you to do number 2. Okay, so my first question is number 2. Connor. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what in the world I'm doing 4 there. Thank you. 5x minus 2y equals 7 is the first equation. X plus y equals 1 is the second. All right? I'm going to pause, figure out if indeed the point negative 2, 3 is a solution. All right, so hopefully you're working your way through. Hopefully you said to yourself, I have to put in negative 2 for the x in the blue and 3 in for the y in the blue and see if that's true. And then I got to put negative 2 in for the x of the black and 3 in for the y of the black and see if that's true. So the blue one, 5 times negative 2 minus 2 times 3 equals 7. I get negative 10 minus 6 equals 7. Well, duh, that's already false. Do I even bother doing the black one? No, I'll look at it, make sure I didn't make a mistake. 5, negative 2x, yes. Negative 2y, 3, yes. That's definitely a negative 10 and a negative 6. It's false. I don't even try the second one. I go on. Did we have a problem like that on last quiz? We did. Did some of you forget what to do on it? You did. All right. So again, we can check to see if a point is a solution by seeing if it solves both. It's got to solve both for it to be a point. All right, you're probably going to need graph paper for the second question. But let's go ahead and solve. Let's do number 4 will be our second question. Solve it by graphing. It's hard to solve without graph paper. All right, so hopefully your first thought was y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form. I look at my blue, and I'm going to add a negative x to both sides. That will yield a new blue of y equals negative x plus 2. Remember, we always graph the y-intercept first. So that's going to be the point 0, 2. Remember, our slope is a negative 1 over 1. Class, the top of the slope is what? Horizontal or vertical? Vertical. Down 1, right 1. So I go down 1 and right 1, and I get my next point. And I like to do a bunch of them. Down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. I can even go up 1, left 1, right? Because isn't a positive 1 over negative 1 the same as negative 1 over positive 1? It is. Up 1, left 1. And now I know exactly where this one is. Take my black. Now look. For me, I would move the negative y to the other side. And move the negative 5 to the other side, but you probably didn't. So your first step would be negative 2x minus 5, right? And to get rid of this, change the sign on the y, you got to change the sign on every term on the other side, and you should have gotten 2x plus 5. Y-intercept plus 5. Always plot it first. My slope, remember, is a 2 over 1. 2 is up, 1 is right. From here I go up 2 and to the right 1. I'm going to use the slope backwards to get to where my lines intersect. So I'm going to go down 2 and to the left 1 and up. Look, lo and behold. Here are my lines. I'm going to give the coordinates of the point of intersection as my final answer. If they asked you in words what type of solution, you would say consistent and independent, right? Consistent, there is a solution. Independent, because it's a single point. Any questions on that? Solving by graphing. Tried to go step by step. Right. And the one we just went over in homework for Raquel also took care of whether there's a coefficient with the y and how to divide both terms by it, right? If you had a number there. No questions on that? We're squared away? Okay. For your third question, let's do number 8. By the way, I'm leaving you all the odds so that you can, if you're concerned, work some odds to get yourself ready. So let's do number 8 as your third question. You're going to solve by substitution. 5x plus y equals negative 14. The other equation, 4x plus 3y equals negative 20. All right, I'm going to pause. Go ahead and solve. All right, you can keep working if you're still in the process. Substitution. Top equation, do I want to solve it for x? Do I want to solve it for y? Bottom equation, do I want to solve it for x? Do I want to solve it for y? Again, a wise choice here saves you lots of time. You should choose the top equation for y. Why is that? It has no coefficient. Therefore, all I need to do is add a negative 5x to both sides, and I already now have the y isolated. Now, in the second equation, where the y is, I will put a parentheses so I can sub this value in. Hence the substitution method. I sub in the negative 14 minus 5x. I'm going to distribute now. 3 times a negative 14 is a negative 28, 38, a negative 42. And a positive 3 times a negative 5x is a negative 15x. That all equals negative 20. Adding my like terms, positive 4 of them, negative 15 of them, leaves me a negative 11 of them. I will also add a positive 42 to both sides to move that. I end up with negative 11 equals 22. Shortcut, divide both sides by negative 11. X equal negative 2. How many got that? X equal negative 2. Got your first value. Second, sub it into the circled equation. Y equals negative 14. This is the easiest way. Times 5 in the parentheses for the x. Put a negative 2 in its place. Be careful. Negative and negative is a positive. I end up with negative 14 and a positive 10. That gives me a negative 4. I write my final answer of negative 2, negative 4. If they ask, I would say consistent and independent. Any questions on that? How many got that correct? Okay. Not enough of you, and that was not a hard problem. I dare say, again, you're making mistakes on your math. Things added to the variable are moved by adding their opposite to both sides. Things multiplied by multiplying by the reciprocal, or you can do the shortcut. How many of you missed it because you had positive 2 instead of negative 2 for your x? Positive 2 instead of negative 2. Nobody? Okay, a couple of you. And then again, you're making some other mistake. Maybe you didn't distribute the positive 3. These are all things we've done. These are all things we should know how to do. You just need to be careful. You need to be careful. Okay, let's go to number 4, your fourth question. Unfortunately, to do a good one, I got to give you an odd, so let's do 11. That's a 5x minus 3y equals a negative 25, and a 6x plus 2y equals a negative 2. You were asked to solve this one by elimination. I'm going to pause the video. All right, so again, elimination, different methodology. On the test, I will tell you to solve some by substitution. I will tell you to solve some by elimination. You must use the prescribed method, so be careful about that, okay? We do need to know all the methodology if we're going to be as competent as we need to be. Okay, so elimination method. Now your first thought is, do I want to eliminate the x's or do I want to eliminate the y's? You can do either one. It's just the y's are easier than the x's. To eliminate the y's, I'll multiply the blue one by 2, and I'll multiply the green one by 3. Again, I'm focused on the y's. What will get my y's to be equal and opposite? Top by 2 and bottom by 3. Now pay attention on my distribution. My new blue, 10x, 2 times negative 3y, negative 6y, and don't forget, 2 times negative 25, you've got to have that negative 50 there. And that's a common mistake. People will forget that right-hand side. Bottom one, 3 times 6x, 18x, 3 times positive 2y, positive 6y. Oh, look, my y's are equal and opposite. That was my goal. And don't forget, 3 times negative 2, negative 6. Now I'm ready to add. 28x equals negative 56. Move the 28. Shortcut, divide both sides by 28. Last time I checked, negative 56 divided by 28 is a negative 2. How many got x equal negative 2? Okay. And again, if not, you made a mistake somewhere, either in your distributing or in your adding. Now I got to choose to get the value of y. Do I want to use black or blue? The y is positive in the black, so in my estimation, I'm going to use black. Where the x is, I've got to sub in the value of x that I just found. And now I'm at negative 12 plus 2y equals negative 2. Move the negative 12 by adding its opposite to both sides. I am now at 2y equals 10. Divide by 2, and looks like y is 5. Final answer, negative 2, 5. It's a point of intersection. Would you expect at least a problem or two involving inconsistent and consistent and dependent? You should expect them. I do have to determine if you know them. And the only way to determine and know them is if I give them to you. Say, Mr. Scarfi, what of this chapter is going to be on the test? The stuff we just did. But I'll also have questions like your last quiz. Hey, multiple choice. If you were going to solve this by elimination, would you eliminate the top x, the top y, the bottom x, the bottom y? If you're going to solve this, substitution, I think I said elimination. If you're going to solve this by elimination, would you eliminate the x's? Would you eliminate the y's? I even asked a question on the quiz, gave you multiple choice of different possibilities of multiplying using elimination. Be aware of those type of questions. We've had, don't pack up, listen to me. Just stop. We've had on both quizzes a picture of consistent, dependent, inconsistent, consistent, and independent, and you had to match them up both to those words and to the type of solution. Should you expect that? Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, and then don't forget, you always got to look at your previous test and refresh your memory on all the short-term answers. We'll always have a rule section. Stop missing the rules every time. You're supposed to go back and figure them out and get them down. Okay? It's always the same rule, different form. Work on those things and be ready for a good test on Tuesday. Any